Well, I don't know if anybody else is coming, but I'm here. Bill did say he had a meeting or was going to be a bit late. Haven't heard from anybody else. We'll see what happens. Hey, Fab.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't know where everybody is tonight.
I'm trying 1 second.
That's good, Gina.
Yeah.
I wish the rest of the gang were here, but it's just me and Fab. Hey, Fab. You hear me all right? Yes, no. All my settings look to be okay. There's nobody saying in the comments they can't hear me.
Can you hear me, Ammon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool. Terrible day for technology. And my laptop died as well this morning. So,
I had to reinstall all my software at the last minute. But, there you go. I like the diagram on the whiteboard. Very.
I don't know actually what they were trying to explain with that thing, but yeah. I'm not sure.
There's Doc. Yes, good, Anton. I guessed if nobody was screaming that they must be able to hear me. But, yeah, I don't know where Bill is, where Kristen is, where Terry is, where Jennifer is. Basically, I've lost them. I've looked down the back of the sofa. No sign. You've cleaned it off now. Didn't want to give away the trade secrets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You never know. There are always people ready to copy you. At some point, I was planning to to run some content and some stuff, like no index buys on cheap, like Fiverr content writer, and see to which degree people are willing to copy.
Yeah.
Literally, like sometimes there are companies that we have like, and it's quite funny with ad copies. For example, they're running on ad copies that we were using like 4 months ago, and then yeah, people are not very creative.
Yeah, you can do your own little whiteboard Friday there.
Exactly. I haven't got much to say tonight, honestly.
What you should do is on a Tuesday try and predict what Randy's going to do on the Friday. See how close you get.
We should spoil the Friday one. Yeah.
Just put some stuff out about links and content. You can claim that. Look, yeah, I got it. Hey Jen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
On time. That's how I am. Hey Bill.
Hello.
Here we go. Oh, Michael's in the audience. Yes, good move, Michael. Drop all the other tabs. This is the only one that matters. So, Bill, what have you been up to this week?
Not too much. I went and took a class yesterday on how to make chocolates, which was fun.
That's
I
nice.
did one of those before. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Of course, if you buy all the supplies to do it at home, it costs you a fortune.
Tempering chocolate is a chore. It's
Yes.
surprising. But we did it. We managed to do it successfully, and it turned out good. They let us take home what we made.
Yeah.
And there were leftovers.
Yeah. Yeah. I must admit, it gets quite precise, but making your own chocolate, yeah, it is fun. And you can experiment with all kinds of things then. You could see about inventing the new diet food, chocolate-covered celery.
Right. And just because you're making chocolate doesn't mean you have to use sugar when you create it. You can use artificial or stevia or something else.
Exactly. You can spoil even chocolate by making it, non-fattening. And what's that pie? It's like when people get decaffeinated Coke. What is the point of that? The only saving grace of the only thing Coca-Cola has going for it is that it's got caffeine. That's it. Take that away, you've just got something you can use to take blood off the road.
Well, chocolate is healthy, regardless of how we envision it with Easter bunnies and candy bars.
It's a very interesting cooking ingredient, actually. There's quite a few ways you can use it, but yeah, you kind of have to play with the taste a bit more than people expect. It's quite good with spices, though. Yeah, cool. Jen, what have you been up to this week?
Lots of writing for a project actually that's nothing to do with the SEM post.
Bill, Gina says she uses coconut sugar. I don't know what coconut sugar is, but that's what she uses. She makes chocolate on Saturday, so Sunday is a good day to go around Gina's house.
Coconut sugar, huh?
Yeah, coconut sugar. Okay. I mean, I've got used to coconut milk, everyone knows, but then they started doing coconut water. And I thought, okay. And that coconut sugar, I haven't heard of this. Anyone know this one? Coconut
I have
sugar?
heard of coconut sugar, but more in baking. I think it's like one of those health things that people do.
Right. Cool.
I
Well,
want to explain why I never heard of it.
yeah.
I've I've tried coconut water. Haven't really been too impressed.
No. I'm with Doc. You know, if you want to experiment with cooking, just find new things to put whiskey and bourbon into. That's the proper way of experimenting.
Yeah, if there's not some health risk involved, it's probably not going to taste right.
Pour enough into the chef instead of the dish, and everything tastes great. Hey Doc, how are you? What have you been up to? Doc?
Oh, I've been trying to be productive here the last couple of weeks, and somehow or other actually accomplishing something. Haven't had a good couple of months here. Had 6 months last year that was dry as a bone, and I've done more since the 1st of October than I did all of 2015. So not complaining. Just waiting for the other shoe to drop. This roller coaster that is being in business for yourself, you know.
Yeah. Gina's followed up. She says coconut sugar is also called coconut palm sugar. It's a natural sugar made from the sap. Okay, yeah. So similar to palm sugar. I've had palm sugar. Yeah, I prefer cane sugar, I must admit. But yeah, I'll give it a go. Michael says he'll stay out of that. Now, Michael, I know is a bit of a cook, so yeah, I'll try his. Cooking in the coconut oil. Yes, definitely. Welcome to Cooking with SEOs, a brand new show. I've been sort of experimenting in the kitchen a lot myself recently, so I guess it's just that time of year. The winter months, you definitely start thinking more about, you know, stews and casseroles and all those good, warming, hearty foods. And of course, that makes me think of, what can I add red or white wine to? So yeah, I've been planning on experimenting with a couple of recipes. One of my favourite things is goulash. I love Boeuf Bourguignon, and I'm kind of, you know, in that kind of mood in the food department recently.
You ever make beef stroganoff, Ammon?
Yes, and I love it. I'm a huge paprika fan, so.
Yeah, and stroganoff is so good with about a cup of red wine in it.
Yeah, I've had it with white as well. It works with white wine. It works with red wine. Either one. And sometimes you can just add a little shot of vodka just to.
I usually do several shots of bourbon, but I keep that on the counter separate.
Yeah.
While I'm stirring.
Yeah, it's, the stepkids are off with their father next week, so I've sort of been thinking, what can I cook next week that the kids wouldn't normally eat and that we would enjoy? So yeah, all kinds of dishes with wine in have been coming up. Definitely, it's something I've noticed in the past. There are a lot of, I mean, all SEOs eat, obviously, you know, so far. But there does seem to be quite a lot of artistic temperament in SEOs. So I think that a lot of us are, if not, I mean, we've got quite a few professional chefs. Terry, of course, is a chef. I know a couple of others. Aidan says beef in Guinness pie. Yes, very nice. But it does seem that we do experiment with a lot of things artistically. We like the creative process, don't we?
I think we do a lot of testing too. That would relate as well.
Yes.
Well, sometimes my cooking tests come out a little bit better than my SEO test.
And vice versa.
Some years, all I get to do at Christmas is sort of create the Christmas punch and maybe some mulled wine, and you know, I tend to get to do the booze recipes, which don't get me wrong, it is very fun. Especially, I'm a big fan of mixing up all kinds of shots. But yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, Christmas shots. You know, my favourite is definitely the after 8. Get a shot glass. Use 2/3 fill it with Kahlua, the chocolate liqueur. Then a third is Bailey's, almost a third, and the last little bit is creme de menthe. And you knock it down in one, and you've got an alcoholic after 8 mint. Lovely. I don't know if they have them called after 8s in the US. Are they still called after 8s there? Or are they just after dinner mints?
I think it's a brand here, or at least in Canada. It's a brand of mint. Or at least I remember my mom eating them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't remember seeing them for actually a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still
They used to be very popular in restaurants, like when I was a kid, but like I don't remember the time of seeing, at least in Italy as well, seeing they used to give this out after dinner. But
Yeah. Yeah, now it tends to be a lot of places. It's an individually wrapped mint imperial, you know, a sort of hard-boiled mint. Yeah. You can always go traditional and get a bag of humbugs.
You know, Ammon, it occurs to me, you're always asking the question and letting us answer, but nobody ever asked you. What have you been up to this week?
It's been one of those weeks. It's chasing around a lot of things. There's last-minute jobs on a few clients. There's been a couple that have done redesigns. There've been a couple that have just been doing their sort of general brush up. And there's a couple that have been doing launches recently. And between all of those clients, the last couple of months have been busy with little bits and pieces.
I'm always so wary when any client or anybody wants to do redesigns at this time of year, especially if they rely on holiday traffic at all. That said, I think the time right after Christmas is a great time to do it when people are busy doing other stuff.
It depends what market they're in. I mean, there's a lot of B2B. This is actually quite a quiet time of year.
Yeah.
January is when it will pick up again as people struggle to use the budget up before the new tax year. And of course, the start of the new tax year is always a big one as well. So a lot of B2B, this is actually their quiet time. Yeah, for the e-commerce clients though, yeah, no way they should be doing anything like that. But the e-commerce, they're always testing new landing pages, or they've got a big ad out and they want a specific landing page for that, and how do they tie this into the existing structure without undoing any of the work on the past structure? They don't want all of their link power building to this new thing that may disappear, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I guess like nowadays on e-commerce, especially because sales is always on to a degree, like you don't have like very well defined periods. Like you go with like adding Black Friday to the game, and then there is Amazon Day, and then there's all this stuff coming. So they always testing. Obviously, probably before of Q4 is those kind of site changes that will take the site down. That's the limit where they probably stop. But like I see many people still changing a lot ongoing with no.
I mean, we've had some clients where literally half, and in fact, come to think of it, there was one company years ago with one of the agencies I was with, was a spa that did a load of health products and beauty products, and because they did gift hampers, this was anything up to 80 or 90% of their yearly revenue was just in the weeks around Christmas, because people would buy a year's membership to the spa, and people would buy all of the gift baskets, and so literally 80 to 90% of their revenue for the year could be earned over Christmas.
I've seen even in content sites where they will get a huge amount of traffic around specific holidays. And it can actually, when you look at their ad revenue, like one site I looked at, they had half their revenue consisted of 2 holidays, Thanksgiving and Super Bowl, because they were a recipe site. and that just the amount of traffic and the amount of ad clicks those 2 times a year was absolutely insane. And the rest of the year just kind of coasted along.
Yeah. You were asked in the chat, how bad was the snowstorm in Victoria?
We didn't get a single flake. Well, I guess we had a few flakes. There was a few flakes on my car, but that was it. And I've been anxiously looking out of my window, but nothing yet. But our schedule or our weather report all week says we're going to get snow, so maybe. I think the last time we got snow here was 2 years ago, 2014.
Yeah.
Oh, they got snow in Hawaii.
I know people always find it hysterical, the fact that I don't get snow here in Canada. I've heard every snow joke there is, and I'm like, actually, I don't get snow. It's not cold here.
They do forget that Canada is a big, big country. And yeah, there's lots
I mean,
of
to be
different
fair,
kinds of
like
snow.
about 95% of the country does get tons of snow at winter time. I just don't happen to live in one of those spots.
Yeah. Michael says there's lots in Calgary. I'm sure he'll send you some if you like.
I'd love some, honestly. Except people here don't know how to drive in the snow.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
That's always been one of the really weird things here in the UK. I mean, we do get bad weather a lot. But the minute it snows, everyone doesn't know what to do. And it seems like, even though this is going to happen every couple of years, nobody seems to invest in chains for their tyres or you know, having a little shovel in the boot to dig themselves out if need be. Yeah, they just, for a country that talks so much about weather and that gets so much bad weather, they really don't seem to prepare for it at all.
Well, it's funny. I just actually got my first pair of chains for a car this year, and it was because I had to drive over the mountains into California. And at the time of year, if it had been snowing, they wouldn't have let me over the mountains without chains.
Oh, it doesn't snow in California. Don't worry.
There was actually snow on the ground when I drove through there. I kind of thought my parents were putting me on when they told me I had to go buy chains to drive down there. I guess I was down there in February or March. But yeah, so I'm the proud owner of a pair of chains if it ever snows here enough.
Yeah, cool. I guess we should change the topic. We've done food and we've done weather. What's going on in SEO terms at the moment?
One interesting thing, because we talked about it a few weeks ago, was AMP is changing their URLs to not show google.com URLs anymore, which is really great because they're being used by phishers and hackers to fake legitimate Google links. So they're switching over to, I think it's called cdn.ampproject.org, I think is the URLs they're going to be using now, which is really, really great news.
Yeah, because although AMP is limited in what you can serve, it did worry me that, you know, there's a lot of people who may have approved google.com on a broad approval. Yeah, I trust google.com. Mm-hmm. And then what code could somebody embed in there on that Google URL?
Yeah. And that's exactly what was happening. Yeah. There was hacking or phishing attempts actually against, I believe they were journalists, and they sent password resets for Gmail accounts. And if you moused over the link, it looked like a legitimate google.com link. But if you looked closer, it was actually google.com/amp/ and then the URL. Yeah. And once you have that AMP URL, there's nothing that stops you from changing whatever's on the actual end landing page, which potentially could mean that hackers could now target sites that have those active AMP URLs. So I think we're going to see Google put the kibosh on those sometime relatively soon to close that loophole.
Yeah. It's very good because, you know, it is something we were all talking about just last week, I think, was, you know, that was still a worry for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And that it was... Yeah, a new kind of cloaking, but the ability to cloak as Google, lovely. Let them go back to Blogger. You know, that's what they used to hang about. But yeah. I must admit, I've not really been following it, but I do see, that SEO hero hashtag a lot. I was mentioning that on Twitter earlier. That it still bugs me because, to me, an SEO isn't supposed to be the hero. They're supposed to be, the one that powers the hero. We're the power behind the throne. Otherwise, it's a bit like being one of those ad agencies where your ads get wonderful awards. They just don't actually drive any bloody sales for the client, which is kind of the point of an ad.
I saw Yoast commenting yesterday on Twitter that the Wix blog uses a way out of date version of Yoast SEO. And so it was like, if they can't even be bothered to update their plugins, how good are they going to do for your site?
It reminds me of Nigritude Ultramarine. And of course, it was Anil Dash that jumped on that. I'm still following it.
I would say.
It doesn't, it's not going to prove what they're hoping it'll prove, but it's still doing what Wix wanted it to do, which was, the fact that most people were saying, oh, you can't do SEO with Wix. Well, you can. It's just trickier than it needs to be.
Yeah.
I've been campaigning with my friend. He's a software developer and he's doing video games in VR. And he hasn't got a website. He hasn't got a Twitter page. And he's getting invited to a lot of speeches and conferences. And then I told him, why don't you just create 2 pages website on even WordPress and put your work there? And we had a fight for about a month of him using Wix. And I was like, it's impossible. You can develop yourself. Don't use but still the benefit of sometimes having pre-made stuff, even for people, can lead them to use that crap, and then ultimately, because he managed to get something out in few days because he didn't want to spend time coding. But then, he soon realized that there was nothing he could change, and there was nothing he could, go any deeper, any better in integrating stuff. And
I must admit, I'm kind of thinking that Google Pages are now going to kill off some of those things, hopefully, because it's about time some of those did disappear. If you're going to have a thing that isn't really a website and isn't really as fully configurable and controllable as that, then you might as well go with the Google one that's already in the Google database. Might not be the same database, but it's already in a Google database. Yeah, Christian, I know you were playing with them. Although they've turned you into a chipmunk.
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. Google Pages will chipmunk you. You have been warned here first. Peter Mead says, good news about AMP. Lots of folks resisting AMP because of this and other concerns. Absolutely agree, Peter. I think also there's just a general waiting by a lot of people. Some people jump on anything new because it's new. And whether it's going to be good or bad, they'll work out down the line. What they're mostly interested in is this is new and I'm on it, I'm on the trend. And then you've got the opposite ones to that who wait until they see somebody else successful with it. They don't even bother to, necessarily test it for themselves. They've got other things that they need to be doing. I think most of us are kind of in the middle there. We don't jump on it straight away. We think about it, but we also like to be testing for ourselves rather than just waiting to see if everyone else is making it work or not.
I normally tend to wait around and see what else everybody else comes up with on new things. AMP was the first thing that I ever jumped on right away because I wanted to test it out myself. And it took me about 2 weeks to figure out that it was, for any of the sites that I manage, it wasn't necessary. I mean, I can't load, without AMP, I can't load as fast as the AMP pages do. But for what you give up, I don't see the need for it. For the, like I said, for the sites that I manage. If they were, for instance, a photographer site that was very, very heavy on high resolution images, that would be a different story. But I was been able to get under 2 seconds load time on everything without AMP. So why would I give up that control? I don't need it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people aren't capable of figuring out how to load up within 2 seconds, or their pages are just, they have too much stuff, that they want to show to their users, and they just can't figure it out, or they don't want to figure it out. I mean, I can totally understand why some sites don't want to get rid of some of their fancy, flash videos or whatever. And so in that regards, I think AMP's good for those users. But I like AMP from a user perspective.
Yeah, and I know you've mentioned that in the past.
Or not. I guess that I'm on the side that I tend to weight people, especially on how complicated it is to implement this for the company you're working for. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you cannot quickly test on something else in literally a week. I guess many people, they either do everything or nothing, but there can be a middle ground don't test it on your main pages. Build it on a section of a site, or bring up a new site and test it. But
yeah, I just quickly need to check. Kristen, are you kitten or are you chipmunk?
I don't know. What am I?
There we go. Back to sexy kitten. There we go. Back. It's important. These political statements must be made. There are advantages to AMP. There are times when that a mobile-first strategy is really important. If you were in the hotel trade, I would say that if you aren't using AMP right now, you're probably missing a trick, because that for professional travelers, who are some of the most prolific users of hotels, they travel a lot. They're used to using their phone a lot because they don't want to reach into the bag to get the laptop if they're taking the laptop with them. They expect to do a lot on their phone. They have learned to trust their phone. They are probably already learning to prefer AMP results because they know it's going to load fast. So if you are literally going mobile first because that's your market, I would say that AMP is probably already much more important for you than for a lot of other people.
Well, probably the same can be said for just about any business that depends heavily upon local, restaurants, hotels, amusement parks, that sort of thing. I think all of them probably could get some benefit out of optimizing that mobile experience, and AMP certainly would do that.
I have found it varies a lot with restaurants. Where you want the passing trade, your restaurant is one of many and it's not seen as a particular landmark. Yes, definitely, you want that mobile traffic. But there are also quite a few restaurants who are very successful or have built themselves up to be that way, where you usually have to book in advance. I mean, Brighton is filled with restaurants, but all the really good ones, you need to book. And if you need to book, you don't necessarily get to do that on your phone. I would say that it might be something they'd be doing for lunchtime specials rather than worrying about the evening. But yeah, for some of them, it's an interesting market. No two restaurants are quite the same.
One thing though is that recently I had that experience of booking a restaurant, and even though I was alone, I used the mobile phone because I knew I was going to call them. And in that case, them not having a decent website, because I was like, okay, let's just find the number and give them a call, but then I wanted to check their site as well. And I was at home, but I was on a mobile, and I couldn't download the menu properly. And yeah, I think that it doesn't hurt necessarily if you get it right anyway.
Yeah. Hey Dawn, how are you? How's the homework going? Can't hear you.
That well, apparently.
Right.
There you go. She's been writing so much that her voice doesn't work anymore. She needs to write it down. I'm sure she'll sort it in a minute. If not, we'll have a mime for the rest of the time. Let me see what the audience is saying. Michael Martinez talks about Shifter this week. serverless hosting, like AMP from your living room. Yeah, interesting stuff. Michael Martinez is one of those odd ones where he has a lot of good ideas, and I used to enjoy debating a lot of things with him, but we didn't often see eye to eye. And Michael says, AMP, the post to support the landing page. The landing page may not have a position to search now that the AMP post will go. Yeah, he's sort of using a belt and braces approach with AMP there. How's it going, Dawn? Have you fixed it? No, obviously not. So has anyone actually had a client not using it for good reason?
Not using AMP?
Not using AMP for good reason. They thought about it and decided against it.
I think there's a lot of people that are like, no, Google told us to do apps, and now they're telling us to do AMP, and no, we're not going to do it because they're just going to discontinue it. But I don't know, personally, I can't see them discontinuing AMP, but they're there for the users, right? They want what users want, and users decided they were done with all the apps and everyone trying to push apps down their face. That, I mean, they do what the users want, right?
It is one of those things. Everything that Google has ever cancelled has been something that somebody at one point said, "Oh no, they won't cancel that."
Yeah,
all of them. So yeah, it is risky. I think AMP is their major play at the moment. The only reason they're going to, get rid of it is if they come up with something even better. I think you'll have a couple of years out of it at least. We certainly are using Schema. That's another Google venture. All right, a lot of other people have bought into it as well, but it was certainly, they were the prime mover. I wouldn't worry about using it or not using it because Google may not continue to use it in future. I would think about the user case right now. If they're using it now, does it make sense now?
I think if websites weren't so, focused on trying to throw as many ads and as many, cookies and all this crap at users, I think there wouldn't have been the need for some sort of speedier version, right?
There certainly is something to that. And let's face it, there are a lot of companies who are using CDNs and using them well. Ultimately, AMP is kind of a CDN.
It's the same reason that why, ad blockers are so prolific. If, marketers hadn't thrown so many ads on all their websites, then people wouldn't have, felt they needed to use ad blockers to block, the autoplay video ads and the, 27 ad units that Forbes loads when you go to their site kind of thing.
I started using this other kind of ad blocker. Instead of like blocking the ads, it changes them to like a charity or nonprofit that you support. And so it's like kind of like best of both worlds. You still let people advertise, and so that they get the revenue, but like so much of the money goes toward the cause, and it's all transparent. Like they're a B corporation.
That sounds almost something malware-ish, wouldn't it be? If you're like, are you viewing a site and it will, like, if you went and visited my site, would it replace all my ads with the third-party ads?
I think so. I think it.
That's malware.
An ad blocker where instead of blocking the ads, they're serving theirs and taking some of the money.
They're serving their own. That's not good.
Admittedly, they're giving some to charity, but the reason they're doing that is to hopefully,
get people to use it.
As the fact that they are charging money.
Are you going to get charged for the impression, even though nobody sees it?
What's it called, Kristen?
Let me look it up. I just found it like last week, and I usually use my Ghost browser, and I don't have it. Real quick.
I'm personally against using ad blockers because, like, when there's good advertising, I almost enjoy it. And sites that get to the point where the experience is so crap because of the advertising, I think it is worse to them to not visit them than because, like, the guy that, like, we see advertising revenue because of ad blockers going slightly down, we still keep producing poor content. Versus the guy that start having it on traffic, we start figuring out why people are not visiting his site, and like ad blockers just limit the impact of like them giving you like, this guy won't change and give you a shit experience. It just prevent the ad. If you stop visiting the site, the day that we start losing traffic, they will probably change their mind on, is this the way we want to treat our user?
I actually I didn't start using an ad blocker until maybe 6 months ago. And the only reason I actually started using it was because I got so sick and tired of autoplay video ads scaring me half to death when I'm like online at 3 a.m. And it would like give me a heart attack because I'd be sitting here all quiet and all of a sudden, blasts. And if it wasn't for autoplay video ads, I don't think I'd still be using an ad blocker.
I started using ad blockers back with the old banners, the shoot the penguin and throw something at the monkey banners and all of those kind of things, which were
I had pop-up blockers forever.
Ludicrous. And I was using them then. I was working with a company at that time, and they were saying, well, how widespread are these? Because I was pointing out the fact that just their traffic numbers weren't going to tell them ad impressions. So we did a little experiment to find out how prolific ad blockers were at that time. And what I did was I designed a CSS pop-up. So it wasn't a pop-up. It used Z-index layers to put a pop-up looking image on the screen. It assembled it. It had an X button. It behaved like a pop-up, but it was all done with CSS back when CSS was brand new. And the complaints about this pop-up, because it was the first pop-up a lot of them were seeing, even though the site had been using pop-ups for ages. I said, that's how many people are blocking it. We worked out it was anything up to 80%. And they were fuming. They made me turn off the ad. But yeah, we did have it. We had it live for almost 24 hours. The level of complaints just got ridiculous, and they went, yeah, not worth it.
Google also has a program called Google Contribute, which works with publishers. Basically, you pay a certain amount each month, like $5, $10, $20, and Google will replace the ads on partner sites. So these are sites that have signed up for it, so they know that their ads are going to be replaced. But in exchange for that, then they get payments from Google for the users that use Contribute that went on their sites and would have seen ads otherwise. So that kind of thing of an ad replacement is, I think, totally fine because it's not malware, because those publishers actually signed up to use this ad replacement service.
It's like the YouTube Red, how is it called? The subscription, where you get into a subscription model and you don't have to pay for advertising, no? I haven't tried it, but I was reading something about it.
I must admit, the YouTube ads are still wrong. They are still trying to do the pre-reel ads, and that's no good. I haven't seen the video yet, so it hasn't hooked me. So I don't know if I'm going to sit through an ad. When it's a 20-second ad, I might do it. But if your ad starts and I can see it's a 2-minute ad, I'm gone. I'm refreshing the page to see if the ad still comes up. Often it doesn't, and if it doesn't, great. I'm going to watch the thing I came to watch. But yeah, you need to put those in the midst. You need to have a commercial break, but you also need to understand the fact that it's going to be the same as TV. We use that as the time to get up, go to the lavatory, make a cup of tea, whatever it is. Most of the time we don't want to sit and watch ads. That's not what we bought a TV for. It's not what I'm on YouTube for.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I
was just going to say, I started using the ITV player, you know, to catch up on things from time to time. And that is so annoying because when the browser has problems with it and you have to restart it, every single time you restart an episode of something halfway through, you have to then watch the advert again.
Yeah.
So you actually get exposed to the advert loads of times if you've got issues with your browser, you know.
If I remember rightly, the way theirs works is when you first open the browser window, the ads play, and it doesn't let you fast forward.
No, exactly.
Which is why. So if you have to restart the video, you can't get to the bit you last watched
until you've watched the ad.
Until you've gone through the
so
ads.
in actual fact, they probably get you to watch. Well, they definitely get you to watch that ad more times than you would have to watch it if you were just watching it on the TV. So
my threshold's about 15 seconds. If the ad's longer than 50 seconds, I'm out of there. And the one thing that drives me crazy is I was trying to watch the press conference the other morning about the fire in California. And in order for me to watch the actual live press conference, it wanted me to watch a 30-second ad. And that kind of really turned me off because it's a breaking news story. They're, you know, hey, watch our press conference, but oh, we're going to make you sit and not watch 30 seconds of it because we're going to show you this crappy ad first.
That's almost quite distasteful because didn't people get killed in that incident? And it's you know, it borders on being a bit distasteful, that actually. Monetizing something that actually is a tragedy. That's not good.
I mean, I tend to think that ads should be at the tail end. And yes, I know a lot of people aren't going to watch them. That's the point. You can actually see if your ad is sticky or not by having it at the end. People have had their content, they've been lulled. If they're going to sit for your ad, that's when they're going to do it. If they're not interested.
It's also quite a good indicator of whether they liked what you were doing or what you know, provided them with in the first place. So you could use it in so many ways just to actually do that little bit more of refinement of your audience and data analysis if they did it the other way around. But as you say, you know.
One of the reasons I love SEO and got into it is because, you know, I liked this very precise targeting. We only are there for people already looking. You know, we're not just spamming everyone with a message and hoping one of them is in the right frame of mind or that they're going to remember it later. I like the fact that we are looking for people who are already looking for specific stuff and we're giving them very targeted information. I like that. I think that's better than traditional advertising. Can you imagine if every time you picked up the phone to ring anybody, there was a 30-second ad on the telephone line? Can you imagine that?
You probably...
Well, it's ridiculous the telecom companies haven't done that, considering everybody else seems to be thinking that's a great idea. But if you think how disgusting...
Don't give them ideas.
No.
Yeah, well, they know full well it would cut down the number of calls.
Well, having said that, if it meant that we all got free telephone calls, I would probably put up with like a 10-second ad before I made a phone call. Probably.
Well, you know, like the 3-second opt-outs on YouTube, I can deal with that. The video starts with a 3-second before you finally get an opt-out button. I can live with 3 seconds. 10 seconds I think is a little too long. And like Jen says, 30 seconds I think is just terribly intrusive. And I have actually seen them on sites as long as 2 minutes. They want you to watch the whole damn thing, 2 minute long, before you get to what you clicked on. And I'm out of there.
I actually had the same, was a few days ago following the tragedy of the airplane in Brazil, of that Brazilian football team. And there was actually it was not really a news site, but it was like a radio that is used to pass news. And they were passing the content that these people created on the plane. So the video on the Instagram that they created on the plane, and someone hosted that on YouTube, like news sites. And then they were passing this on their website, running ads on Facebook with some clickbait ad. And then when you were landing on the actual content, it's a tragedy, right? And they were showing ads on top of that. So they were like monetizing someone else's tragedy, and on top of that, they were monetizing someone else's content as well, because they haven't, the content creator doesn't forget about this being a tragedy, but even in the case I'm a content creator on YouTube, and then you take my content, you put it on your site, and you run ads on top of it, which I haven't asked you to do so. Like, there's no benefit for me on that when that thing happened. But it's terrible because they sell you someone else's content, which is good that you share that thing, but like at the same time, it's not good you taking the right of running advertising on it.
It's one of those things that does bug me. I don't mind ads in content. I don't even mind necessarily paid placement. Let's face it, I watch enough movies, I watch enough TV, and those certainly have it. A number of people who definitely using an Apple computer, using an Apple iPad. The Apple logo gets placed more than almost anything. I don't mind that. I don't mind seeing Audi cars driven by Iron Man. That's fine. It's kind of in context, and it's not getting in the way of my enjoyment. When they actually stop me doing something to place an ad, that's a little bit more intrusive. It's sometimes the equivalent of somebody lurking outside your door, and every time you go out, they give you a quick 10-minute 10-second presentation before they let you pass out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gatekeeperishness to some advertising that I don't like. I tend not to like interstitials. They can work. They can work very well, and if they've got a skip button, it's not the worst thing in the world. But you've really got to think very hard and carefully. That kind of advertising, yes, it works in the short term, but over time, more and more people who would otherwise have subscribed don't, and more people who were subscribed get annoyed and unsubscribe.
I think even on the TV advert one, the one where you have to keep like replaying the advert before you can switch off pause. I think there's also even issues there with, they should cap it. When somebody's seen the advert, it's almost not very fair to advertisers, because ultimately they're paying for individual eyeballs seeing that advert. So if you're seeing it 5 times, it's almost not very fair to those that are actually paying to get in front of people. It's there's no capping. It doesn't seem to be capped, which is not right, really.
I was around .com bubble, and this was a time when banner ads sort of paid for everything, and then suddenly it hadn't quite occurred to anybody that digital ink is limitless, that there is very little cost to publishing on the web. This isn't something print. There were only so many publishers because distribution was hard. Even if printing was relatively easy as desktop publishing came in, distribution was difficult. Getting a lot of people this content was difficult. So advertising had worked a particular way, and then the internet came along, and there's no limit to space. This is limitless billboard space, limitless pages. There are more places to advertise than there are advertisers to fill those places. Full stop. That is always a certain kind of market. It's a market where advertising is not a premium. If you are going to do anything that's advertiser based, you have to do it based on demographic, on particular connection, influence. We're talking influence marketing through advertising. That's what you got to do these days. Just having ad space is pointless. Everyone's got ad space. Go on, Doc. I can see you.
I saw something interesting. It's probably been a couple of years ago, Ammon. Somebody wrote a blog post, and they laid out a hypothetical situation where country X decides that they're going to offer, their ISPs will offer you, let's say for $10 a month, you get internet access. For $5 a month, you get internet access with highly tailorable ads. You're willing to accept only some ads, and you can say, okay, I only want ads that deal with gaming, for instance, okay? And then for $2 a month, you can eliminate, nothing. So the more you pay, the more control you have over the ads that you see. And I thought it was an interesting concept. I don't see it ever getting off the ground, but it was an interesting concept where you can actually pay a little more to limit what level of ad you're in and the type of ad.
I just muted Fad briefly there. For some reason, we suddenly got a load of echo. Michael Thomas in the audience says he's a firm believer that as an audience, they should have the choice to watch advertising or not. I think, yes, that's certainly important. I think we generally don't mind when something is within acceptable limits. I don't think any of us mind one ad per page. When it starts to get to multiple ads per page, we all start to think, there's more advertising than content. I think, that is definitely one of the areas you've got to watch out, that you can't just cheat people and have more ads than the content is really worth. There are certainly ads that are way off topic.
But haven't AdSense lifted their 3 ads per page rule?
Yeah, but that's more to deal with like the ever scrolling sites, like how you scroll down and it'll bring up a new article. That was more to combat that. But I mean, the sites I think where we're seeing so many massive ads that are kind of annoying people they're not AdSense sites. They're like the Forbes.com that has 27 different ad units plus 80 some odd cookies for a single page view.
And there's those big takeover ads. I mean, those are like, they're terrible. They're so annoying. They literally are like practically taking over the page, Presumably.
The one that annoys me, and I think it annoys everybody the most, is when you go to any site and 2 seconds in, you've got a pop-up asking you to subscribe to their newsletter.
Or those push notifications that everyone's doing right now. Oh my God!
I've got that set to ask if I accept them. If you ask if I want push notifications before I've been coming to your site for some time, before I'm a subscriber to your site, forget it. I'm going to hit no.
What was interesting when I was at State of Search in Dallas is Miley said that those ads or those push notifications actually work very well. And I was on stage with her doing Q&A, and I'm like, that definitely must be some sites that are not doing what I'm seeing, because I'm going to random like SEO news site or to, just a site about whatever. And it's like the first thing I see practically is this push notification thing that you have to, shut down to prevent. And I mean, I can see if it's targeted, like if I'm reading like a long form article about something that's going to be updated in the future, I can see, okay, maybe I'll get a push notification if it gets updated because it's something I'm truly interested in. But if I'm looking at some recipe for sweet and sour chicken and it's like, would you like a push notification every time we post a new recipe? No, thank you.
You know what?
I've got it turned on for space.com, and that one I love seeing. I love seeing all the different things about space come up like in the little corner. It's so cool.
I was going to say, interestingly enough, though, there was, Anu Hellemans shared a really interesting piece that it was a survey that looked at the computer skills of the world, of the developed world population. I think it was like 16 countries that you would say are pretty well developed, US, UK, etc. And the skills of people generally who use the internet are not anything like us. So I think that the vast majority of people will probably not even realize what's going on with things like push notifications, and they'll probably be quite glad to, take it on board. And I think that often we tend to assume that people are like us, and we're not. We're kind of in that section that works on the internet, that knows the vast majority of things that are kind of going on in the background. And I think it's easy for us to assume that everybody else hates things as much as we do. So that shocked me, actually. I think it was something like So, well, I can't even remember the statistics, but they were pretty eye-opening, really. The vast majority of people just haven't got a clue about the internet.
I
Very
do.
valid. You know, we live in a bubble. We
We
think that, you know, the way we see things is how most people probably see them. And we're probably only about 6% correct at most.
Exactly. I'll never forget, I had my sister-in-law around for dinner 2 Christmases ago, and I was talking to her about what I did, and I started talking about spiders and robots, and she went off and told the family that I was mad. She said, you should have heard the things Dawn was talking about, spiders.
Well, to be fair, Dawn, I mean,
Like, oh my God, I don't believe the things she was talking about. It was all crazy.
I bring this up. There are still a lot of people, probably just about the majority of a single demographic, whose main experience of the internet is logging into Facebook a couple of times a week and catching up, and that's about it. Their email and Facebook are their only consistent ones, but they'll look up a lot of things while they're watching TV, you know, often on a tablet rather than a PC. They often don't find it worth the time to boot up a PC. The fact that a tablet is on much faster, or the fact that their phone is always on, is you know, a lot easier for them. It's not that they're ahead of the curve and into, you know, the internet, and that's why they've got the tablet and the WAP phone. You know, it's simply that they just don't see the point in turning on a computer if they've got one. Oh, well, it takes 2 minutes to boot up. I may not want it that much.
No,
the tablet occupies so little space. It's so portable. It's actually cheaper to purchase than most desktops.
and easier to use.
Got appeal. Definitely has appeal.
If you are certainly targeting the housewife, the soccer mom, that kind of demographic, tablet first should absolutely be your strategy, because that is the main device for so many people in that demographic right now.
My mom only uses a tablet. Like, unless she has to print something that she needs to download Adobe or something, she exclusively uses a tablet. And that's like for Amazon, for eBay, for Facebook. Everything she does online is with a tablet.
And of course, it can be tricky for some of them. Some of them will have the little plug-in keyboard. Some of them don't. So, you know, do remember that form filling can be tricky. That's sometimes where it's worth having the ability to send themselves a link so that they can email themselves and pick it up on the computer. But the form is seen as something worth spending the 2 minutes to boot up the computer for.
That's that piece, by the way, just out of interest, if anybody is interested in it, because it is actually, it's carried out by, oh God.
Nelson Norman Group.
Yeah, so, you know, the actual research was carried out by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So, and it was 215,000 people. So it's fairly significant, and I would say reasonably reliable data. It's just pretty shocking when you realise that, as I say, we do live in a bubble. We assume that everybody is seeing things a little bit from our perspective, and they're not. So that might be why things like push notifications are working for the majority of people who are not like us, you know. Yeah,
but it's the same argument people have with, you know, phishing emails. They work. Well, yeah, they do.
Exactly.
Doesn't make them good.
No. We went to we went to that conference a few weeks ago in the Netherlands, Arno's Conversion Hotel conference. There was a guy there, and I can't remember what he was called actually. He was a pretty big speaker on email marketing. And he was saying, ultimately, you know, you can all slag me off all you like, but email marketing works, and however much you try and segment it or target it, etc., or personalize it, just send more emails. He just said, that's it, just send more emails. And, you know, you could almost define him, and he said people often define him as a spammer, an email spammer, but he just said it just works massively. still.
It does. But yeah, I am going to say he's a spammer. Do you know what else works? Having aggressive salesmen phone up old people and refuse to, back off until they've sold them something. It works. It's horrible. It's nasty. It's not nice. But it works. I personally think that whether something works or not is not a good measure of whether or not it's ethical, moral, or worth doing.
Talking about pop-ups, I opened the page you just shared. There was before I even scroll, don't miss out on great content. Subscribe. Yeah, sure.
Well, that's a good point. Pop-ups, we hate them because we know how they affect a lot of users. But in reality, I saw a study here a few months back I read, they work. They make money for these sites.
Yes.
So anytime, and just about any practice, somebody will step up and say, yeah, I know everybody hates it, but it works. But
that's exactly what I did that thing for all those years ago with the CSS pop-ups that couldn't be blocked. Because that was it. They knew that pop-ups worked. They got great click-throughs on them. And they convinced themselves that meant people liked them and they were okay with them. So I let the people who were blocking them see them and let them know exactly what percentage of people that was. And like I say, 80% of people were blocking them and hated them. So yeah, they're working, but they're working on a small minority of the population who are not that well educated, and the majority loathe them. And when you live in a democracy, you have to consider that laws and things get made by that 80%, not by that 20%.
Well, Ammon, the Nigerian prince emails still work. They work less than they did 10 years ago, but they still work. And some guy can pull in 10 or 20 or $100,000 over the year with his Nigerian prince scam. To him, you're not going to convince him that it doesn't work. Maybe he sent 100,000 emails and he only banged 2 of them, but it worked.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, isn't it? Look around this panel. There are lots of forms of dodgy advertising that work. But do you know what? SEO works, and it isn't dodgy, and it isn't unclean, and it's very precise, and it doesn't leave pissed off users around most of the time. There are exceptions. There are people using clickbait and all kinds of other things. But you don't have to, and I think that's always the risk, that people say, "Oh, well, it works." Well, yeah, but other things work as well and don't have the same downsides.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for them. I'm simply saying that there's always some sector that's going to say it works.
Yeah,
and that's the problem that we face. Between our bubble and this insulative wall around the majority of internet users that don't realize that there's scams, there's phishing schemes, there's all sorts of stuff out there to watch out for. It's not going to go away anytime soon.
I think there definitely needs to be more awareness for some of the older generations as well, because we see I'm sure it's the same everywhere, but we see all these programs, these you've won a prize type things, and you see these horrific stories of pensioners that just keep filling in these direct mail forms and sending things off, trying to win competitions, and the families, they end up losing everything. And there definitely needs to be much more awareness for a lot of these scams for those kind of vulnerable groups, definitely.
Yeah. Well, gonna have to do a lightning round. Bill, what are you up to in the week ahead?
I've uncovered some Panda stuff that I wanted to publish because it fills in some gaps in interesting ways, and maybe we're not getting any more updates for Panda, but I like filling in the historical information.
Cool. Jen?
Same old, writing. Maybe some Christmas shopping.
Kristen, what are you up to?
I'm learning Excel, word research.
Cool. Fab?
Killing some stuff that works. Before, like, doesn't mean that if it works that it's good. Yeah. For example, we have one pop-up that everyone in the company hates, and before we even ask our user whether they like it or not, I think this probably has to go away. It's not about making it, if it works or not, it's more about what values you have and everything. So,
Doc?
This week I've got 4 more sites to convert to SSL, and then a chore I've been putting off for nearly 2 years. I've got a Joomla site to convert to WordPress, and I'm seriously considering suicide as being a preferable avenue.
Are you sure you want to convert it to WordPress? Joomla still works.
Well, I'm sure I still want to get it off of Joomla.
Oh, well. Dawn?
A mixture of social stuff and dissertation stuff. I'm going out tomorrow to the SEM Rush Christmas party in Manchester, and we're going on a pub crawl with a lot of digital people.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it won't get too messy.
I did want to make that, but
yeah. And then the day after, SASCON Beta in Manchester, and then I'm out on Friday night. So that's like 3 nights out in a row, and then all weekend I'm going to be working on my dissertation. So
what's going on in Manchester? Is that an event, or is that just a family thing?
What did you say?
Is that an event in Manchester, or are you just doing a family thing there?
Well, it's Olga from SEM Rush, Olga, the lady who works with SEM Rush, and Sergey, he works with her, and I think somebody else is coming over as well. They're like hosting like a Christmas dinner for the people in Manchester digital community. So we're going out tomorrow for that, and then we're all going out on this pub crawl that Ned Poulter's organised. So there's about 20 of us going out. So that should be good, yeah.
And then you're working on your dissertation.
I have to work all weekend. I'm pleased.
although by that time she's going to be so dehydrated, it's going to be more of a desiccation than a dissertation.
Right.
To be honest, I'm pretty pleased because I went to see my supervisor today, and he was pretty positive. He just said, look, stop getting so stressed about it and just keep pressing on. I found some stuff as well that I'm going to be using that Bill kind of flagged me towards. Monica Hensinger's stuff that's just been updated in 2016, and William Pugh, I think he's called. But the whole of the patent isn't there. That's the problem. So, yeah, I'm trying to find out where the rest of that's got to.
Well, we've got to go off here for this week, but thanks for joining us. See you again next week.